What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Jacked Ramsays Post Game show. I'm your host, Damian Marang, joined as always by Brandon Sprague. The Portland Trailblazers lose their fifth consecutive road game to start out this four-game trip to Los Angeles Clippers. Final score of 117-109. I had to refresh my memory because that game just irritated the ever-living hell out of me. Oh, there's a lot to cover here, Sprague. We'll let everybody kind of pile in here because look at this. This is an amazing, amazing thing. We're getting started within like a minute of launching the stream now. I think there's going to be two questions that come pretty much the entire night. One, how injured is Dame? And two, how soon is Neil Olshey going to be out of a job? I think those are the two things, and those are literally the first two questions in here.
Oh, those are the first two questions?
Oh, God. Listen, let everybody kind of pour in here. I don't even think this game was nearly as indicative of the scoreline. Do you?
In terms of it didn't feel maybe as close as the score indicates.
117-109, yeah.
It got out of hand there at the end. A lot of that was like, come back in the last minute and a half, 2 minutes. But I thought LA did a good job pulling away late. For the most part, that game was, it was a game of runs, right? It's
massive runs each way.
10-0 run, like 7-0 run.
There was a 23-6 run in the first quarter by the Clippers.
It was absolutely
nuts.
The
Blazers.
Yeah, because they switched because they were down 13-3.
Yeah, it was just, I think, wow, my throat just went completely sideways there. The rallying cry so far in the chat, 2 minutes in, is rest Damian Lillard.
Yeah. When he got that finger roll layup, that easy, he broke through, got the finger roll layup, and man, we've seen him grimace like that was he
folded over. And here's the thing, I don't think it was the layup. I think it was the rebound before where he skied up and extended both arms because he exploded up for that rebound. Like, I'm going to go get this. And it was kind of one of those. And I think when he came down, he was like, crap, I shouldn't have done that.
Mm-hmm.
Because the seas parted and he didn't really like push to extend on the layup. It wasn't like he really like shot out of a cannon. And so when I see that, I'm like, again, this is me playing doctor, which I love to do.
I don't know if you have to play doctor if the guy just told us that he re-aggravated an abdomen.
And he's reaching at it and wincing multiple times in the game.
I'll tell you what, if I tell you I have a bum ankle and then you watch me play pickup basketball and I'm grimacing, kind of like moving my ankle,
should I just throw stuff at you?
It's hurt.
Like, hey, dummy. Hey, dummy, how's it feel? How's it feel, dummy?
Yeah, I don't know if it's so much playing doctors, just pointing out the obvious.
Speaking of pointing out the obvious, on top of all of that tonight, guess how many minutes Damian Lillard played?
Oh, that's a great question.
Felt like the wheel. How long was he out there for tonight, Sprague?
I want to click my other tab so bad right now. I'm going to say 30, 38.
39.
Oh, God, higher than
Price is Right, baby. Always come under. Well done.
Damn.
Listen, everybody's always asking me about Ant's dunk, too. Listen, I had a spiritual experience. I had to step away from the laptop for a few moments after that.
I had Stan's dad when he discovered porn on the internet. Like, I had that picture ready to tweet out and say, this is Danny right now.
Oh! Yeah, it was that was something. But let's kind of go through the game here a little bit. Opening quarter did not come out the way that you wanted them to, Sprague, or like it, love it, leave it. What was your impression of the first, was it 5 minutes of the game?
My first impression was, dear God, I said, leave it. Don't bring it, leave it. And they didn't listen to a damn word I said. I mean, the perimeter defense, I thought they had bursts where they were good around the perimeter defensively. But I think for the most part, Nic Batum scored the most points in a game that he scored since 2017-2018 season. Mm-hmm. And they shot 53% from three.
From where,
From three.
Oh, okay.
I don't think it's just a coincidence and, they got hot. They had a lot of open looks, and especially in that first quarter, it was real discouraging.
Yeah, no, there was a ton of wide open looks. And the scary thing is the Clippers shot well. Like, they shot really well. They ended up 52-53, but 70% from the free throw line. But for whatever reason, it feels like the possession count, even though this game felt like it was playing fast, you had 91 shots for Portland, 85 shots for LA. It felt like it was going to get closer to like 95 for each team, like the pace that they played at.
Yeah.
They finished with 67 total threes, which if you had told me that in the first quarter, I would have laughed at you, because the Blazers gave up 6 corner threes alone in the first quarter. They give up a little under 11 per game. And of those 6 they got in the first quarter, I went back through and just charted them real quick. 4 of them were butt naked. Just butt naked, wide open looks. And I was like, this does not bode well. But Portland did rebound after that opening onslaught, and they actually took hold of the game. What happened, Brandon? There may or may not have been a personnel change.
Oh, I was going to point to the obvious thing that we've only been talking about the entire season so far. Certain people sat down. Certain people came in.
It's become a real thing. I'm getting more and more texts from people around the league. It's like more people who aren't, Portland media see this Portland team and they say the same thing. Does CJ ever move the bleeping ball?
No, he doesn't. And I took a couple notes during the game and I took a couple after the game. He ruined so much momentum and he ruined so many possessions to me. I text you even in the middle of the game, was like, dude is a ball hog. Like, he just comes down, and when he wants to get a shot, it's not maybe if I swing it and cut over. There's no rotational thought.
Once that switch is made, that shot is going up.
It is going up. It doesn't matter how good of a shot it is. He's going to dribble for 8 to 12 seconds, and he's going to shoot either this running push shot,
which he's been a train wreck on. So what's weird is, and I will gas CJ up on certain things. Over the last 5 years, he's one of the 3 best mid-range shooters in the NBA. That is factual. He is volume and percentage-wise a mid-range god. He has been a tire fire from the mid-range this season. Now, he has been exceptional at the three-point line, and he's upped his rate and his finishing around the rim. So it kind of counterbalances, but his natural inclination is to cook in the mid-range. And it's like it has become a just tire-screeching, train-stopping bleep show every time he does it. And it's, like you said, it's the way that he has gone about it, it is just derailed. It's like Dame can't go out here and hunt shots, but CJ can. And I find it a little bit weird that that's kind of, I know Dame has struggled, but like the empowerment part of this seems is very frustrating. And Maul's here in the chat says, anyone see CJ not passing the Cyril what would have been a wide open dunk? Yes, Mauls. Everyone in the bleeping world saw it except for CJ bleeping McCollum.
What was that? He made a hell of a play. He was going to get rewarded, and he's wide open, and CJ looks at him the entire time, and he's just like
screaming at him. And Nas had every right in the world to want to stuff CJ in a locker at that point in time.
Hey, what happened on that possession? That's right. He passed to the next guy, and the next guy missed the shot, and they missed.
Instead of Nas on a 1-on-0 run out.
Look, I'll say this. I thought Kenny Smith, I don't know if you heard this, but I know they said stuff at the half. I saw the post game before we hopped on, and I thought Kenny Smith said one of the best quotes I've heard about this team so far.
Which was?
Ernie says, what are you looking for? And he says, it's not stats. It's not points. It's not assists. It's high fives. It's hugs. It's chest bumps. And he says, when you watch other teams play Portland, you see it from them. You're not seeing this stuff from Portland. This is what we have hinted on with the starting lineup. There's
the bad vibes.
There's a very weird energy there, as if it's obvious what everybody knows what needs to be done.
And nobody wants to do it.
Well, we don't have anybody to do it. The dude's being investigated right now. So it's like we're stuck between a rock and a hard place right now.
So Kaylee H says, apparently Dame says he took a shot to the ribs in that layup. That's a little interesting because it was an uncontested layup.
So maybe it was when
possession before?
Well, I thought he had broke through between two. The D Wade thing where he put the ball in and he kind of went through. I thought he got hit.
I'm trying to remember it in my head. I thought it was a high Nurk screen and he just turned the corner.
Yeah, maybe you're right. I'm with the rib thing. I'm trying to think maybe it was a breakthrough, but I thought it was open too.
Yeah, I remember the C's partying and thinking, because I think it was Paul George got stuck on a Nurk screen above, and nobody, I think Reggie was help side and was like, and was too late.
Yeah.
Somebody was help side and was too late. But going back to the Nas run out CJ stuff, that's I think indicative. And we had Nas on the show, and one of the things he said is, "Hey, listen, like I know what my role is with this team. Like, I've got to be an energy guy. I've got to be a hustle guy." But he made sure to point out a couple things. One, hey, I've got more in my offensive game that I want to show. Two, when we're on transition, that is my green light. Chauncey has said that is where I go eat. And so for Nas to bust his ass in those couple of possessions, get the disruption, get the turnover, and then run out and get looked off, you know what he does? Man, bleep you. I'm not doing that again.
Right.
Like, that's the thing, is like he gets like 1-2 looks. CJ gets 20 looks a game. And that's you've got to reward that guy. You have got to reward that guy. It is just one of those things where it's just like, come on, man. Like, you can't be that guy and go lead everything sideways. What was, as far as like when you're looking at stuff from that first half, what is the thing that you pull away from that first half?
It's, for me, like, I know they came back, but that defensive effort was to start that game. I just thought that was the tone. It was, hey, come out. You clearly know where your weaknesses are, and you're running around with chickens with your head cut off again, wide open plays after wide open looks, and you have to battle back, right? Like, we talked about how it was a first half of big runs back and forth. Part of the reason you're in that situation is because of how poor you're playing on that end of the court. It was a good Nurk night. I'll say that. That's kind of what you were looking for Yusuf Nurkic, I think, going into the year. 15 and 12?
Monster
13?
box score, but I felt like he didn't have nearly the impact that box score would indicate. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. I thought, there was some plays that I was like, damn it. But I thought he was, for what he's largely been, tonight was a good night for him.
Tonight was a massive improvement as a playmaker, and I was still very frustrated with him as a playmaker because third quarter into the fourth quarter, when the Clippers kind of started to pull away and do some things, they were throwing two at Dame. They were throwing a high trap and making Yusuf Nurkic make decisions, and that's when he was sped up and just not in a good place. And he kept making things. I said something along the lines of he gets into the point where he struggles with his feet getting ahead of his head, and I think that's the problem. That's something he deals with. Like, and it's just like he doesn't understand how it is to struggle or how it is to catch under control. We've talked about this a ton, and then figure out what he needs to do and be under control at all times. That's the frustrating thing, right? Mm-hmm. So, again, box score night, massive box score night, and you love to see that.
I really don't know, Danny, if he's going to be better than that most of his nights. And no. I think that was another takeaway for me that I wrote down was Nurk with a good impact, not perfect. He was a good impact player tonight. And what sucks is when you waste those Nurk nights, because we also know what he's capable of on the other end. So it's like, if Dame's hurt and you're getting a better Nurkic night,
how much more do you need?
You want to win the game. Like, those are the games you want to be able to win, because how many games can you win if Nurkic plays like crap? If Dame's battling injuries, it's just going to be a really uphill battle for them. Thank God for Norm's start. I mean, that was my only hit tonight, was my love it.
Yeah.
Norm was really good. Their second two guard in their starting lineup. We try to play him at the 3, but it doesn't make any sense. And
he took fantastic on Paul George tonight and made him work. Here's the thing. I'm not trying to throw Nurk under the bus here.
No, I don't think you are. I see what you're saying.
There's some people in the comments like, hey, Nurk made some nice passes. Nurk had a good game, but when Nurk is put in the position of making the right decisions over and over and over and over again, and he falls short in crunch time, it drags the great box score night that he was having down a little bit. Because in those bursts, he has got, like, that's one of the most important things for this team, is when they throw two at Damian Lillard, making teams pay. Because if that doesn't happen, then teams continue to throw two at Damian Lillard. And that is even on a night when Dame's kind of got it going. Not great, but getting there. I think that's the big thing for me to take away from this is in those high leverage moments, Nurk has to deliver. But I don't want to spend too much time talking about what Nurk didn't do because he did have a good game tonight. You hit on something, and that was your love it tonight was Norman Powell. Norman Powell was the only guy that came out to start this game with any bleeping energy.
Yeah, he looked good. Man, he looked good tonight. He had two bad moments, and it just sucks that they were very pivotal moments. They were the missed free throws and the missed shot.
Yeah, I mean, Norm's box score tonight looks pretty spicy. 5 of 6 from 3, 23 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. He's got the old CJ McCollum stat line of like 23 and 3, where you're like his job is quite literally like, hey,
wait a minute, somebody matched what CJ does?
Oh, did I say that out loud? My bad. But yeah, that's.
Did you hear what Stan Van said about Nurk, by the way?
Which one? Stan Van had a couple lines down. He called Tony Snell one of the best 3-and-D guys in the league.
Yeah, I was like, that's why you're not coaching right now. But that being said,
you sure about that one, Stan? Like, I got nothing against my guy Snell, but
nobody was picking that dude
up. He's a man signing.
No, he said at some point in the second half, they went to a timeout. Now they were going to timeout. He said, yeah, they're running everything through Nurk. And if I'm Ty Lue and the Clippers, I love that. And I was just like, oh.
Yes,
ouch.
That's exactly it. Because they're getting the ball. That's at that point, they were doubling Dame and getting the ball out of his hands. And Nurk is just not the decision maker on the move. He's a good playmaker stationary. He is not a good playmaker on the move. Larry Nance Jr. is a significantly better playmaker on the move. It's just he's better with his passes. He's better with his decision making. It got to the point in that game where at about that moment I was like, hey, can we get Larry Nance Jr. in there in that pivot? See how that goes? Because I'd like to see him make some plays on that short roll. A guy who's a better passer on the move and making quicker decisions. The flip side is Nance, something's just not clicking. I don't know if it's like the vibes or what, but like he should be better than he has been. And I think he will be, but I think it's a lot of playing with that starting unit. And again, that starting unit, the vibes are just so sideways that I don't think he has something right. Does that make sense? Like something just feels off with how he integrates with that group because of how they're shot hunting.
Well, I think it's who he's playing with. He's gone after a couple players this year, has he not? And 2 of those players are in the starting rotation. So I think it's about who he's playing with and what they're not doing, because they clearly care about one end of the court. It's what do they do at the other end? And I think that has pissed him off. So I think he's still kind of trying to figure out how to kind of fit in with that kind of play, because he might not be as accustomed to it, watching dudes just straight up not be where they need to be or playing Olay defense. I think things like that can bother a player like Larry. Now, that doesn't excuse his lack of offense or anything like that, but I think it kind of explains part of the story. Like tonight, and I'd be interested to hear Chauncey's thoughts on this. If you go look at the starting lineup and the bench minutes, I mean, dear God, he rode the starting lineup tonight and just said, bench guys, meh. And I find that really interesting because I thought their bench guys were, a couple of them were good in spurts, but when you're not getting minutes, like Larry Nance played 9 minutes. Did you foresee him playing 9 minutes in a game?
No, the bench units tonight, you had 9, 8, 16, 13, and only Ant broke the 16.
20.
And he had 23.
And that's 7 minutes shorter of what he should have been.
Yeah. We'll talk about Ant's dunk here in a little bit. Tobin, I see you. Typically in the post-game shows, I don't see a lot of the notifications that pop up, but thank you for the donation, man. I do appreciate it. It's a lot easier for me to keep up with the chat when the live shows when things are a little bit slower, because I'm usually trying to get out of here pretty quick because Sprague has to go to Betty Pie.
Oh, are you just blaming me like you're not doing a radio hit right after we get off this thing?
I am going to be up until like 12:30 and 1 o'clock in the morning, like every other post game. But screw it. Let's have some more fun. Anthony Bleeping Simons had his dunk of the year, had his best in-game dunk. Didn't get a real opportunity to do a whole lot other than that. I felt like he was kind of forced into a weird spot as far as the pecking order went tonight, because Norm was kind of cooking, Dame was kind of cooking. This is what we talked about coming into the pregame. It felt like Ant had to be a little pickier and choosier about his spots. What did you think?
I thought we saw different lineups tonight. Did we not?
Yeah, we had the Nance,
CJ.
Little Snell, CJ Simons lineup.
Yeah, like
and I was like, huh?
Yeah, there were a couple of lineups I saw, like Rocco with Dame in the bench, and then you kind of put Norm in there a little bit. Like
I did like the Dame, Norm, Cove, Ant, Zeller lineup. That was
I wasn't mad at it.
They got a lot of looks. That's actually when the Clippers got hot again. They actually just hit some open looks. But the Blazers, I think Ant had a couple. I think Norm had a couple, and I think Nasir had a couple. And I was like, or not Nasir. Dame had a couple, and I was like, and that's when Zeller smoked a couple bunnies and lost the turned it over under the rim a couple times. I was like, ugh, you give me those possessions back. And I think it was an Ant 3 and Norm 3, or Norm 2 Norm 3s and like 2 Zeller bobbles where they didn't get a good look underneath. Like, give me those possessions back on any given night. I think that's going to be a good outcome.
And I think part of, Ant, and he did struggle from the field. He just missed his jump shot. He had the nice dunk. I still thought he put himself in really good positions to get buckets. But what I was going to say is part of the problem I thought with Ant tonight, it wasn't just they was missing shots. It's these guys are creatures of habit. Mm-hmm. Like everything is detailed. They're always used to the routine and what the season is. And I think this is maybe a night where you tweak the lineups a couple different times in ways maybe we hadn't seen very much. You're asking guys to be slightly different players in all of those lineup changes. So,
and we talked about that with Chauncey. Is like, you can play around with this stuff in the beginning of the season.
Right.
But once you kind of figure some things out, it does need to, like, you can't go off of it too much without messing with some guys.
And so I just wanted to say, like, that's not to excuse missing shots, but I do think it puts guys in different positions when they shoot those shots. So there's a difference there for guys.
I'm getting the you must acknowledge the chat from the chat right now. All right, chat, we see you guys. I appreciate you. I do try to keep up with it. It's just, it's hard sometimes, all right? There was something else I wanted to bring up, and I'm totally mind-dumping what it was. Oh, Cove. Rough night for Cove.
Could not hit a three. Dame got him some good open looks, too. He just couldn't connect tonight, man. I'll say this. I thought he was real active on defense. Yeah. Made some good plays.
Right spot at the right time. But man, it's like you gotta hit those. Like, it's just it's tough, man. It's tough when you're getting those looks. And the thing is, the Blazers shot well from three tonight. They shot 38%. They were 14 of 37. And again, that wasn't enough to mask the problems that they had tonight, which was point of attack. They were bad. They were really bad.
Yeah.
Reggie Jackson got loose how many times? What did he finish with?
Oh, my God.
It was bonkers. 23? Yeah, 23 on 10 of 20. George was 10 of 24. Obviously, Nic was feasting. Hartenstein, 6 of 7. Kind of just gave anybody who was in there the work at the rim.
When Reggie wanted to get to the paint, he was getting to the paint.
Yeah. So, point of attack-wise, I thought the Blazers were really bad tonight.
Well, now we got a back-to-back against Phoenix, and I'll say, based on how Dame looked at the end there,
and playing 39 minutes,
I wouldn't be stunned if they decided to sit him tomorrow. Could be wrong. He could play, and that's fine. I'll always take a Damian Lillard game.
They're just not going to sit him. He will not.
But
be sad.
You're just hurting your own team.
You know he won't.
I get it, but like, when does Chauncey say, "Hey, this is a long year, my man. One game is not going to hurt the grand scheme of this thing, right?"
Carlos Sosa says, "What does point of attack mean?" So when we're talking about point of attack, that's your primary initiators on the offense. So for tonight, it's Reggie Jackson and Paul George. So that's your guys at the top of the key. So if you're looking at the key, are they looking at the court? If this is the hoop, this is the top. This is your point of attack typically, is the very top. You can get initiations from side pick and rolls. You don't typically get actions out of the corners as far as like the ball starting there. It can end there, but your point of attack is typically your guards or your wings. Sometimes in very, very weird situations like the Nuggets, where Jokic ends up being your primary initiator, the point of attack ends up with your center. So, but when we're talking point of attack, we're typically talking Dame and CJ and playing Olay defense. They were a dumpster fire tonight in that regard.
Awful.
Speaking of dumpster fire, which was worse than their point of attack defense, Sprague, do you have any idea what it was? What was worse than their perimeter defense tonight?
Oh.
It should be glaring. The second I say it, you're going to go, oh.
Shit. You put me on the spot. I don't know. What is it?
Transition. It's the worst.
Oh, well.
Yeah. You see? Told you. It's
I'm
the
used to
worst
that.
freaking transition team in basketball. How many times can they smoke a layup? How many times?
Well, it's the wrong guy shooting that layup.
Okay. The problem is they
miss
only
it.
have 3. They only have 3 guys that you can trust.
I know.
Damian Lillard is in the 4th percentile in transition right now. CJ McCollum is the 10th percentile in transition right now. They are a train wreck in the open floor. Those guys pull up threes in transition. Cool. Stop going to the bleeping paint. Push the ball ahead. If it's not Ant, Nasir, or Norm, stop. Stop. It's bad.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't.
Can teams typically get out of that though? Like if they start on a bad trajectory, can they get out of
Dame
that?
and CJ have been bad outside of 3-point shooting in transition their whole careers. They're just poor transition finishers.
Yeah.
Lack of size, like Dame was a better transition finisher like his first 4 years in the league. Remember when Dame was dunking on dudes like crazy to come out?
Yeah.
He decided, you know what? I don't want to do that because that typically ends in injuries. So
I'm gonna go for that layup.
yeah, I'm gonna get that. I'm gonna get that Kyrie layup package, right? But they're really bad. Their primary scorers outside of Norm and Ant are really bad in transition.
What did you think of Chauncey tonight?
I think that plane to Phoenix is going to be full of bleepity bleeps.
Yeah.
He got up a couple times and it was pretty pissed. Speaking of pretty pissed, Larry Nance Jr. is going to kill somebody on this road trip.
He's probably going to murder an individual, yeah.
He chewed some ass a couple times tonight. Multiple guys, but one in particular.
Somebody's going to have to tell him, like, dude, don't actually like kill him, put him to the close to death and then let him go, because he's going to be playing with this all year, and if he thinks this is going to change,
well, he might not.
Upon further investigation, we'll wait to find out. But I mean, I tell you, we see that change. Like, dude, you're going to be playing with this all year, and if you think that's going to change, you're nuts.
Speaking of change, let's change things up. Let's look ahead to the Phoenix Suns tomorrow on a back-to-back. I recorded with the Suns guys this morning and had a chance to talk with them. One of the things that is going to be interesting going into this game, it doesn't sound like DeAndre Ayton is going to be available to go, which is a good thing because before he picked up the little knee knock, he was playing like an absolute monster possessed.
So we got Kaminsky on Nurk?
JaVale,
that's right.
Which is weird because JaVale is weird Nurkic kryptonite.
That's right.
It's every player has like the one dude who's washed who just for whatever reason just gives them the business. It doesn't matter who you are. There's just one guy always somewhere.
Do you remember Barkley's?
Oh no, God dang it. Who was it? He's made jokes about this so many times. Yeah. Oh God.
Barkley's is good. Barkley's is a prime example of what you're talking about where you go, that makes no sense.
Who
but
was
yet
it? It's
I'll give you a clue.
It wasn't Muggsy. God dang it.
It doesn't help that I'm white.
But, I know. Was it Popeye? I knew. I just couldn't remember which one it was.
Popeye Jones.
He
said Popeye Jones always locked Charles Barkley up, I guess.
Shout out to his son Seth Jones of the Portland Winterhawks. It's one of those things where it doesn't make any bleeping sense, right? It's just like, come on, bro, really? But he does. Like, he's just stupidly long and athletic. Nurk got beat backdoor a couple times tonight on some back cuts and some lobs. That's just gonna happen.
Cody wasn't very good.
This is Cody's worst game.
Yeah, I thought Cody really struggled.
It just seemed like I wondered for a split second, I'm like, did the Kings play a matinee game and it's cold in there and that's why his hands are just – because he normally has very, very sure hands.
Yeah, a lot of dropping, trying to pick it up, back it up and go
up with it. It picks it up and puts it down. You know, it's one of those like, come on, Cody. He's got
Nurkic-itis.
Yeah, I mean, Nurk, it doesn't make any sense. My explanation for Nurk's bad hands, because he's got such soft touch, is that he grew up playing soccer and it just didn't get the hand development. That's my like, this sounds like it could be true. It's totally not, but it sounds like it could be true. But this Suns team is not on a back-to-back playing 3 games in 4 nights. They will be shorthanded without DeAndre, but I don't expect Chris Paul to struggle in the sense that he did in the first matchup. But at the same time, Chris hasn't been himself. His shoulder injury might be lingering. He might be kind of washed. Like, he is 5'11".
Oh, I'm not ready to go there yet. I think
I said kind of.
I think he's pacing himself.
You think that's what it is?
Yeah, I think by late February, early March, I think we'll start to see Chris Paul from last year morph into it. And I think that's the way his career is going to age until eventually he is washed and he can't pull that out anymore.
And he becomes a coach.
I don't think he would be a terrible coach.
You think so?
Yeah.
Why?
Aren't all legendary point guard coaches awful?
I don't know. Is Chauncey
Magic Johnson good?
Is Chauncey a legendary point guard?
Is Jason Kidd any good?
No.
You want Isaiah Thomas as your coach?
Steve Nash.
Steve Nash has Kevin Durant and James Harden and Kyrie Irving. Like, I could be the coach. And
what about the legend Steve Kerr?
Steve Kerr's a good one, but he's not. Not all time.
Yeah, no.
Keep an eye on that, man. I don't think he would be a good coach. He's too much of an asshole. He is. He's too much.
I don't
agree. Like, I know what I would do here. You better effing do that. But
why don't you have the best passing acumen ever and make every bleeping floor read? Yeah,
you should be top 3 in assists, bitch.
Yeah. You had this team going 3-1 on this road trip. They are 0-1, Senor Sprague.
Yeah, thanks.
What do you think of your prediction? Is it 2-2, or are they finding 3-1 somewhere else? Because Jokic is now gonna be playing.
Yeah, he is gonna play. That's right. He only got one game.
Hilariously, wow. And they didn't suspend Mook.
Hey, that's what the MVP buys you. It's less penalties.
I guess so.
It's hard for me not to revise this to 1-3, man. I went from 3-1 to 1-3.
Just whoosh.
Oh, and you know when I made that call, it wasn't right now on the pod. It was as soon as I saw the first quarter start, and I went, "Yep, they're not playing defense. It's a wrap. We're gonna reverse this thing." I think they got an outside chance. The minutes are going to be distributed different tonight. You're going to see, or tomorrow, the bench guys are going to get more minutes.
Well, they have to lean on those guys with how much they played the starters tonight.
I would expect Nas to be up close to like 23. I would expect Ant to be up 7 more minutes. Nance cannot play 9. I mean, come on, what are we doing here?
I bet you Nance is probably like, dog. Hey, unless there's a lingering injury that we don't know about, where he's on a minutes restriction or something along those lines.
Yeah,
I haven't heard anything. Typically, when those pop up, I'll at least kind of get a little bit of a. Expect somebody to be a little bit limited. I didn't get one of those. Damon Sears 0-4. We are doomed. Listen, if they go 0-4 on this trip,
if you don't think Houston can beat them, you haven't been watching Houston.
Houston is game. They are game.
They just pushed Denver the other night.
Yeah, and they were right there with. They've been right there in pretty much every game.
They're a young team full of FUs.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of young players that are like, screw you, dude.
You've got variance everywhere. So you could get a monster Christian Wood game. Remember, he gave Portland the business last year. Jalen Green, rookie, he could have a monster explosion. Kevin Porter Jr. can have a monster explosion.
Yeah.
They've got plenty of guys who, they can do some things.
Yeah.
But what do you expect to happen from the Suns game?
Ooh. What do I expect to happen?
Mm-hmm.
I expect them to fall off in the second half. Surprise us with the effort tomorrow.
The Blazers?
Hang around. And then I think Phoenix ultimately pulls away. Portland's tired. Dame's still hurt. CJ still having a struggle bus. And Phoenix gets revenge from their last game against them.
I think you're kind of on par with that. I expect Phoenix to win tomorrow. And like I said, I thought they'd go 2-2 on this trip. So
it still could. I mean, you could still beat Houston and Denver.
Houston is the one you're looking at. Like, that's the. Now, if you can get one in Phoenix, like again,
I don't know if this team is in the look at a team and go, yeah, that's a win. Like, I don't know if this
no. I'm saying that's the game that they should be looking at. Like, hey, we should win this. As in, let's go out and take care of business. That's not. Oh, that's food. They went 0-3 on a road trip where they were food. So they need to get a single road win before they can talk about taking care of another team on the record. We'll get out of here on this, guys. We get the pregame show and postgame show tomorrow for the Suns. We will go. Let me take a look at the schedule. I think we're only an hour off tomorrow. It's a 6 o'clock. It's a 6 o'clock start. So we'll go. You want to go 5?
Let's do 5.
Okay, so we'll go at 5. Musa says Blazers by 30. I can hope. I don't think it's going to repeat itself. I have a reeling suspicion. The good news is, Sprague, the Clippers covered and the over hit tonight. So
the overhit. At least one of the bets was right. Screw you.
It was Clippers by 3. Oh, sorry, you took the Blazers. That's right.
I took the Blazers. Yeah.
Somebody
I'm
else
an
did.
idiot. I'm an idiot. I bet against a team I say I root for.
Yeah, listen, man.
Aren't you cool?
No, listen. I like my money. That's the difference.
I hope you actually laid some money on.
I did, absolutely. I'll send you the receipts. But again, thank you all, everybody, for coming in and hanging out. We appreciate you. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. We crossed 1,800 in the pregame show and the subscribers, so thank you all
Thank you guys a lot.
very
We appreciate
much.
that.
It's very, very cool. If Ricky Bells is in here, shout out him for supporting the show. I appreciate you.
Shout out Ricky Bells. I saw that. Yeah.
I want to eat some of your food now. I have got a major case of the munchies. We will go tomorrow at 5 o'clock pregame, and we will be ready to go postgame immediately after. And again, I've got some content that I'm finishing up on Ant and Nasir, and then obviously on the foul stuff around the bigs in the NBA. I don't know when I'm going to drop it. With so many games packed in a row, I don't want to just flood the timeline. I will continue to put the post games on the podcast, so if you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform. We're available anywhere you get podcasts. So like I said, rate, review, subscribe for the podcast. Subscribe here on YouTube, and that'll about do it for us. You can follow us on social at Danny Marang, at Brandon Sprague, and at Jacked Ramsays. Until tomorrow afternoon.